Have you ever looked at a website and just wondered, how does plain text turn into something that looks that good? Well, that's the magic of CSS. And in just the next few minutes, we're going to build this really modern-looking profile card from the ground up. And along the way, you're going to master the 4 core ideas that are behind literally all web design.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with the before and after to see what we're aiming for. Then we'll dive into our 4 key building blocks: spacing, selecting, styling, and aligning. And finally, we'll put it all together for the final build. Ready? Let's jump in.
All right, so what's the tool we're going to use for this makeover? It's CSS, which stands for Cascading Style Sheets. The way I like to think about it is this. If HTML is the skeleton of a web page, then CSS, that's the skin, the clothes, the whole personality. It's what controls everything you actually see, the colors, the fonts, and yeah, the entire layout of the page. And just look at the power of CSS right here. On the left, that's our raw HTML. I mean, all the info's there, sure, but it's kind of lifeless, right? And on the right, that's our goal, a clean, modern-looking profile card. Now, here's the crazy part. The only difference between these two is a handful of CSS rules. So let's get to building. Okay, before we can build any kind of layout, you've got to understand this one single, super important concept, the box model. Seriously, this is the hidden structure behind everything on a web page. And once you get this, I promise you'll see the web in a whole new way. So here's the big secret. Every single thing on a web page, I don't care if it's a paragraph of text, an image, a button, it's all living inside its own little invisible box. If you can just wrap your head around that one idea, honestly, the rest of CSS just starts to click. Right at the very center of every box, you've got the content. This is the stuff itself, the text, the picture, basically the whole reason the box is even there. Everything else is just built around this core. Now, wrapped around that content is what we call padding. Think of it like breathing room, but it's inside the box. It pushes the border away from the content so nothing ever looks squished or cramped. And the next layer moving outwards, that's the border. This one's easy. It's just like a picture frame. It can be thick, thin, you can give it a color, or you can make it totally invisible. You have complete control. Okay, and the last layer, the outermost one, is the margin. This is the element's personal space, its bubble. It's the empty space outside the border that shoves other elements away, making sure everything on the page has room to breathe. And here it is, the whole shebang, all laid out. From the very center, you've got content, then padding, then the border, and finally the margin on the outside. And remember, this 4-layer structure applies to literally every single thing you see on a web page. All right, so we get it. Everything's a box. But how do we tell the browser, hey, I want to style that box, not this other one? Well, that's where selectors come in. They're basically the address system for our CSS. So let's quickly run through the most common ones. You can just target an element type, like say every single paragraph. Or you can create what's called a class for a style you want to reuse over and over. And for that one special, unique thing on a page, like the main header, that's what an ID is for. You can also get fancy and target elements based on their location. Like you could say, grab any paragraph that's somewhere inside this container. Or you can be more specific and say, nope, I only want the paragraphs that are direct children of this container. It seems like a small difference, but it gives you this really precise control. Okay, so we can pick out any box we want. Now it's time for the really fun stuff, making it look good. This is where we add personality with colors and control the text to really make the design pop. When it comes to color and CSS, you've got a ton of options. You can use simple names like red or get super specific with codes. But one of the coolest is RGBA. That A at the end stands for alpha, and it lets you control how transparent a color is. It's awesome for creating those cool layered designs. And for text, this is your go-to toolkit. With just these few properties, you can change the font, tweak the size and boldness, and dial in the spacing and alignment. Seriously, getting comfortable with these is the secret to making your text look professional and easy to read. So, let's recap. We can space our boxes, we can select them, we can style them, but how do we put them next to each other or arrange them in a layout? This used to be a huge pain, honestly. But now we have this amazing tool called Flexbox, and it makes it, well, incredibly simple. So what is Flexbox? At its heart, it's just a system for arranging things in a row or a column. All you do is tell a parent container, hey, you're a Flex container now. And just like that, you get these superpowers for aligning and spreading out all the items inside it.
By default, as soon as you turn on Flexbox, it just scrunches all the items up at the start of the container. So that's our baseline.
But now watch this. We add just one little property. Justify content, center, and boom, everything is perfectly centered. No weird math, no old school hacks, it just works. It's amazing.
Or, get this, change it to space between, and Flexbox is smart enough to pin the first item to the start, the last item to the end, and then spread everything else out perfectly in the middle. This is exactly how you create those clean-looking navigation menus with basically zero effort.
All right, we've got all our pieces. We've got the box model for our spacing, we've got selectors to target things, we've got our styling properties, and we've got Flexbox to line everything up. It is time to put it all together and build that profile card we saw at the start.
So let's break down how each building block played its part. First, spacing. We used the box model to add some padding inside the card for that nice breathing room. Second, selecting. We used class selectors to grab the name and the bio texts specifically. Third, styling. We applied our font family and color to get that clean look. And finally, aligning. We used Display Flex to perfectly center that whole card right in the middle of the page. See? Every single block had a critical job to do. And just like that, in only a few minutes, we've gone from a plain, boring document to a polished design. And we did it all by understanding just 4 simple concepts. You literally now have the fundamental toolkit for styling anything on the web. So the real question isn't what we just created, it's what are you going to create next?